aboard that small plane. The crash under investigation. Investigators were told that the aircraft clipped a truck before landing on the road. It then hit a traffic light pole and burst into flames.
More people are hitting the road this holiday weekend, taking full advantage of a 5-year low in gas prices. AAA says the national average is $2.74 a gallon. That's down from $3.66 a year ago. And prices typically peak Memorial Day weekend. So can we expect lower prices to continue from here on out? Gene Marks is a certified public accountant and business columnist. Thank you for joining us. So will we keep
glad
seeing?
To be here.
Thank you. Will we keep seeing these low prices?
Yeah, I mean, the hope is that we will, Patty. I mean, right now, like you had just said, prices are actually $1 lower than they were last summer, which is great for drivers, and particularly when this summer the expectations are is that this will be one of the biggest driving summers in recent years. The good news is that, well, not great news if you're in the oil industry, but for us as consumers, still American output is still pretty high. Saudi Arabia is still producing quite a lot of oil right now. So the markets themselves still have pretty high levels of inventory out there, which should keep prices down through the summer. But keep an eye out what's going on over in the Middle East and also in China as well. As their manufacturing output increases, that could put a pressure to increase prices. For the summer, though, we're in pretty good shape.
All right. Meanwhile, federal prosecutors are reportedly preparing to file criminal charges against General Motors over those faulty ignition switches. They've now been linked to more than 100 deaths. Meanwhile, questions, though, are remaining whether individual GM employees are going to face charges. They're already going after the company, but still trying to decide if individuals put out misleading data. What do you see happening there?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's a big deal right now. Federal prosecutors are considering a charge of up to over $1 billion in fines and penalties to General Motors. And really, for the first time in history, they want to go after some individual engineers that allegedly were misleading the public. They weren't reporting some of the data that related to these faulty ignition switches. So we have to wait and see. The big issue is, how does that affect businesses and consumers? You know, GM is a big company, but $1 billion in fines and penalties is a lot of money. The thing is, though, is that GM itself, they made like over $2 billion in earnings before income taxes just last quarter alone. So I don't expect prices of cars to go up anytime soon. What I do expect is for GM to be going out to the public and actually offering more incentives to help us buy more cars and to make sure their reputation stays intact. But look for just this news this week. Federal regulators, they are expecting to levy some huge fines on General Motors.
Yeah. So why did GM say no to a possible merger with Fiat Chrysler?
Well, I mean, it really depends on what some of the things that they have in common are. General Motors themselves are just getting back through a large restructuring. They themselves have a lot of issues and a lot of past with faulty other faults that they've had with some of their products that they're getting over. Right now, the timing just wasn't right for their merger with Fiat. That doesn't mean it might something happen sometime in the future, but for the current, really seems to be not going to be in the cards.
Okay, third topic now. Some Obamacare customers are suffering from sticker shock. Their health care rates are skyrocketing. According to the latest data, if you look at state by state, New Mexico seeing the biggest rate increases, 51%. Tennessee's rates up 36%. Maryland, 30%. The reason you say is that the insurance pool was considerably older and sicker than expected? Well, some people expected it. What about that?
Yeah, it's a little scary right now. First of all, let's just be real right now. This is the insurance companies putting in their claims to the state regulators saying, hey, look, we need to increase our policies for the 2016 year. That's because the numbers are coming in, Patty, and the numbers are showing in a lot of states people are older and sicker than what a lot of insurance companies were originally thinking. So they're putting in some pretty high increases, as you've just said. Now, will that happen in reality? Likely not. State regulators are going to come back pretty hard. Most people are actually expecting not to see 20 or 30% increases, but more like something between 4 to 8%. But the issue is really, as the years go on and more data comes in, will insurance companies still be forcing regulators to increase prices on the Obamacare exchanges as they see that the country is getting older and there are more liabilities involved? But for next year, you can expect, I think, about an overall national increase of between 4 to 8% in your health insurance premiums.
All right. Gene Marks, thank you so much for joining us on this Memorial Day.
Thanks for having me in. Take care.
You too.
Well, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is taking a look at some of the deadliest jobs in America, and the results might surprise you. According to this data, some 4,500 civilians die in the line of duty each year. Garbage collectors come in 6th on the list. Surprisingly, police officers don't even break the top 15. Being a logger takes the top spot for the deadliest job in the country right now. Saluting Americans who died in battle, parades and solemn ceremonies honoring their sacrifice as we pay tribute to America's fallen heroes.